Yo, what's going on, guys? It's your boy Uch, and really quick, I wanted to talk about my recent and updated experience with the game that a lot of people are looking forward to. Probably not a lot of you know that it's even a thing, and another bit of you might be frustrated with this game. However, I'm here to kind of simply break it down as best as I can and speak off of my own experience, so this one shouldn't be that long. I will say, for starters, the game that I'm talking about obviously is Ninjala. So Ninjala is, I would say, the spiritual successor to Splatoon, even though Splatoon was very popular on its own, and it's kind of funny, and I think it's a little odd that they're choosing to go ahead with another look-alike rather than just like a Splatoon 3 or just more Splatoon add-on content, DLC, however way you want to slice it. I'm actually surprised that Nintendo is not going forward with another Splatoon or more Splatoon content. Instead, they are doing Ninjala, which again, like I said, is a very similar styled and looking, especially with the aesthetics. It kind of gives you the inkling vibe of a game. It's, a game with objectives. It's a game with death matches, with free-for-alls and 4v4 format, and it's seemingly a very fun game. The thing that I'm here to talk to you guys about, because I, for one, am definitely somebody that is, I have to admit, I was suffering from this. The controls, not necessarily like how the layout of your control scheme is, but the way the game functions and flows, it can definitely be a little confusing for starters. Now, jumping into the game, you obviously are under the impression that, okay, well, whoever gets the most kills kind of wins, right? Towards the end of my recent playthrough of the beta, which is beta number 2, they had 2 betas. The first beta wasn't really so hot as far as, the ability to even play all together. You had 3 tries. The first test was simply unplayable. Second test was basically still unplayable, and by the third test, which I wasn't able to participate in, I heard a lot of good things come from it, and that's a good sign. And because of the obvious happenings in the world right now, they pushed the game back to June, which we are now in, and they instead gave us a second beta run in place of the original release, or the intended release, which was the end of May, which was just the other day. And playing the game, I have to admit, I love the way it looks. They give you enough aesthetics to make your character look as unique as you'd like them to look. You get a couple choices between the weaponry and whatnot, and as far as playstyles go, it's pretty diverse, so I will give Ninjala just that. However, when it comes to your the core game itself, and applying all of the control knowledge and how the flow of the game works, I think I got it down. It actually isn't about just getting all kills, and I'm sure later down the line, as far as its game modes go, there might actually be instances where kills are going to matter more. But as far as the free-for-alls go, it's actually about who has the most point consumption. Kills obviously help. You get a good amount of points when you do get your kills in, but when you are actually going for those yellow orbs and you're destroying those big apples, you actually get a lot more points. And I actually figured this out once I thought I was going to lose, but once the award ceremony at the end of each match happened, I went from close to the bottom all the way to first place, which is my first time I've ever actually won a free-for-all game in Ninjala. So then it hit me, and I realized, okay, so this game, it really isn't all about just getting kills. It's not about defeating your enemies, getting those splats and whatnot. Whenever you defeat your enemy, they literally just go flying into the wall, and then you get an ipon. Yeah, it's really not all about that. It's actually as simple as, no, you actually have to attempt to get the other things on the map, so that way you get more points, because it's a point allocation based system, at least with the free-for-all. I'm not sure how that's gonna transition into the full version of the game, which, by the way, is still free. For those that didn't know, the other thing that's crazy about this game is that they're attempting to do something that they really haven't ever done before outside of like having Fortnite, I guess, on the Switch. But the Switch is going to have its first ever free to start game with online capabilities, and I don't know if you need a Nintendo Online service account in order to play online. I'd imagine you would, but considering that the game is free to start, it's going to introduce other aspects to get people to buy into the actual game. As far as that goes, it could be anything. It could be weapons, it could be clothing pieces, it could be characters. I'd imagine it'll definitely be characters, because I wouldn't hold it past them if we did actually get some kind of Splatoon DLC where you could play as Inklings as like playable characters in the game. Like, that's kind of like a no-brainer there for me, at least. Other than that, I mean, the game is fun as long as you understand what you're doing. But as far as the actual combat goes, sometimes it feels very random, and that's another thing that I was trying to grasp to with my experience in playing. Is like, I feel like a lot of times, especially when you have like those clashes and you're in the middle of like trying to parry one another, that seems like it's very straightforward, but a lot of the results that I ended up getting seemed very random to me, and I was like, well, I know that you have to pick between 4 different directions, and I'm guessing if you pick the wrong direction opposed to your opponents, then you are gonna lose out on that. So I think I feel like personally a better situation would probably be like more like a rock paper scissors, rather than pick an angle, and depending on the angle of what your opponent picked is gonna decipher like how or who wins that outcome. Because for starters, it seems like, oh yeah, well, if I go up, what if they go down? And it's just gonna keep us looping around and forever and ever, and it's just like it drains more time for the overall match because it is on a timer. That's like, I guess, like a minor gripe that I have with it, as far as the combat goes, because I did get it down to a system where the bubble gum actually is a defense mechanism. It's not just a projectile to spit at your opponent so that you can stall them or keep them still or anything like that. It's actually used for it's like you could treat it as a shield. So if someone runs into your gum, or they're trying to attack you while your gum is out, it actually does defend you a little bit. So that's a plus. I used to originally think that there was no real defensive options, but I mean, you can argue me if you want, because I can hear the side where it's like not that great of a defensive option, just like I can hear that it is a defensive option. I guess it's just how you play the game, because with each weapon you pretty much have a different flow style of how you're gonna go about the match. For me, I actually liked using that spiral umbrella thing, the drill weapon. I don't know exactly what it's called, I forget. That one I liked a lot more, just because I was able to have like a sneak attack, and when I saw someone coming, I could hit the button to go underwater, or like pretty much in the ground, to evade them, and then hit the button again to actually hit them with the attack, and then follow up with any other attacks and whatnot, so that way I could follow up. Now, another thing that I guess is a hint that I did catch on to is that if I'm in the middle of like some kind of melee battle between myself and my opponent, and it wasn't looking good in my favor, I actually tried not to just mash buttons in hopes that I would win the exchange. Instead, what I did was I actually just tried to run and kind of regroup, see if I could get any more orbs, try to just get away from that situation, because most times I saw that when I did that, I'd actually survive a little bit longer, and in turn that person might get into another quarrel really quick with someone else that's like kind of looking on, that's waiting, to at the opportune moment. And if you're smart enough, you kind of can figure that into your whole overall play style and maybe capitalize off of that escape or what have you. So that's pretty much my thoughts on the second Ninjala beta and my overall thoughts on the game. And at the same time, normally, if this was a game that I was talking about where I knew that I was gonna have to spend like $60 to play, I'd probably sound a lot different. But right now, I am kind of being very like upfront about everything like I normally am, and very blunt. I'm not gonna lie, I was very frustrated initially with the game because, again, I was like mostly confused with how exactly the system worked, and like the combat, and like what you could get away with and what you weren't, and like all sorts of things. And when I put my brother Uch on there, he was actually picking it up a lot quicker than I was. And through watching him play, I also learned, like, okay, maybe you could go about it this way rather than the way I was originally going to, or maybe it's a way that we're all, like, you know, seemingly going through. But most importantly, the reason why I'm overall, like, my experience overall is not a negative one is basically because in the back of my mind, I already know that this game is not a paid game. Like this is a free-to-play game. It does not cost any money to actually play the game, and once they do have the in-purchase buy options available, I'm sure that you're gonna be okay to not have to go ahead and do that, because Gung Ho Studios, they're known for making, like, I think it's like a dragon puzzle game or something like that, which is like a very popular game in the mobile market. And again, this is Nintendo's like first big time attempt at doing something like this kind of format game with their home console, and it's gonna be pretty interesting to see how it works out for them. I'm sure there will be people that will buy into whatever the aesthetics are, DLC, whatever it is, as long as it gets people going like, yo, or that's OD, then they're gonna get some buys. I don't know how they're gonna do overall. I'm sure games like these, especially if people have fun and they feel like they're, you know, they could see themselves playing the game for long periods of time, I feel like the game will have as good or better success than Splatoon. And that was a game that you had to actually pay for. So that's why I'm not really like too frustrated with my experience, especially when let me tell you, I lost a lot of games, but I'm honest. And I'm like, even through all the losses, like even through all the frustration, at the end of it all, like I'd be like, I mean, this is a free-to-play game anyway, so it is what it is. Not to say that free-to-play games mean that they should feel like clunky, or if the battle system or the meta behind it is whack. But I do think that as long as Gung Ho does the right thing and they actually listen to its players, then I feel like they could make the necessary adjustments to the game overall, especially considering that they heard us loud and clear when it was unplayable during that first beta for the first 2 sessions out of the 3. And this time around, with the one elongated session for North America where we got to play it for, I think, like 10 hours, it was pretty spotless. It was spot on. When I got on, I played all my matches very, very quick back to back. And I didn't really have any kind of connectivity issues. I would definitely recommend Ninjala, especially if you already have a Switch, because the only thing that you'll be losing out on is your own internal space, because it is, again, a free-to-play game. It does come out in June. I don't know exactly when, but you can expect to hear more from me as far as Ninjala goes. I will most likely stream it once it comes out. And I'm actually looking more forward to seeing how the 4v4 format is, because they only let us play free for all during this beta. That's one other thing that I definitely would have liked to try, to link up with friends and whatnot and play some 4v4. So if you guys are looking to squad with your boy, let me know in the chat, or I guess in the comment section, because we're not streaming right now. Like, share, subscribe, guys. Make sure you're definitely liking the video and subscribing as well. Every 100 subscribers, until we get to 1,000, I will be giving away a free copy of Power Rangers Battle for the Grid. Or for those that are not really interested in Power Rangers, you're still going to get $20 in your PayPal. Make sure you're taking care of yourselves. May the power protect you. All of the supporting links are going to be in the description as well. Keep it locked, loaded right here on this channel, guys. And please, 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 as far as liking and all that other stuff goes, besides all that, please make sure you guys are taking care of yourselves. May the power protect you. Look out for one another. And I'll see y'all next time.